logic against them. The Imam, he says, well, if it's true, well, which it isn't, the Imam, of course, is saying, but even if it was true that the sun rises between the two horns of shaitan, then what a better way to put shaitan's face in the dirt than to be doing salat at that time. Yeah. So yeah, if you want to do ada on time, 4 rakats at least have to be in that time before it's Fajr time. If not, then you have to do qaza of it. Now this is for those who want to do all the 11 rakats of Salat al-Layl. Some, if they don't want to, the ulama, they say at least the last 3 rakats, Salat al-Shaf', Salat al-Watr, can be done after also, before Fajr time, and that also has many rewards. Of course, they say Salat al-Watr is the best of them, then Salat al-Shaf', and then those 4. So is it clear or is it more complicated now, more confusing?
Any particular surah you have to recite?
No surah. You don't even have to recite a surah. Just Fatiha is enough. You can do it, all of them sitting. Every mustahab salat can be done sitting. You've probably noticed me. I do all of my namazes sitting because I want to get them done before people die of starvation before iftar time. So I do it quickly. You can do it sitting. You can do every namaz that's mustahab can be done while walking even. And you don't even have to be facing the qibla if you're doing it walking. Or on the plane or in the car, and you just, move your head down a little bit as ruku', move it down for sujood, and you say the zikr of ruku' and sujood, it counts. So a lot of flexibility when it comes to mustahab salat. If you're doing it sitting though, yes, they say you have to be facing the qibla. But walking, jogging, on the plane, in the car, whatever. And we have a hadith about how I think Imam Sadiq alayhi salam on his camel or whatever it was that he was riding in the night, he would do Salat al-Layl while he was sitting on the camel or whatever it was. So yes, there's a lot of flexibility there. This is just something that I'm saying on the side.
What is the preferred way of doing the niyat for Nawaz Shaf?
There's no preferred way of doing niyat. You just have the niyat. If someone asks you, what are you doing?
Should we say 11 rakat the start?
Okay, so this is a good point that you're making. Let me explain this a little bit about niyat altogether. Niyat and intention, as the word is saying itself, intention means the reason why you're doing something. Okay? There's a misunderstanding that niyat is something that we have to say, or we have to at least think of the words in our mind and pass them in our mind, I am doing this qurbatan ila Allah. While when you look in the books of all of the maraji, they say niyat means niyat, intention, why you're doing something. How do I know if I have the right niyat? Well, if someone asks me, what are you doing? I can answer them. Right? What are you doing right now? I'm sitting and I'm listening to a lecture. Right? What are you doing? I'm praying. So for example, if someone's walking under the rain and the rain falls on them and they become wet enough for ghusl, they can't say, oh Allah, count this as ghusl, because you didn't have the intention from the beginning. This intention is to rule out situations like this, where for some reason someone splashed water on your face and then someone splashed water on your hands. You're like, you know what, let's do masjid now and just have wudu too. No, you didn't have, when the water was on your face, was being washing your face, you didn't have the intention of wudu, so it doesn't count. But what some people do, like when they're coming late for Jama'at, for example, Ya Allah, so the Imam waits in ruku. The guy takes an hour to do his niyat. I am praying, Maghrib, qurbatan ila Allah. You don't need to do that. You just have to know what you're doing. That's what intention means. That you know you're doing it for Allah. That you know this is namaz al-subh, not namaz al-maghrib, this is namaz al-shab, not namaz al-fajr, and these things. How many rakats it is, of course I already know how many rakats it is. As a matter of fact, I've seen this too, that they say you don't even have to make the niyyah that it's kamil or qasr. Am I praying full, am I praying qasr? That doesn't even have to be said or intended. As long as you know that you are praying salat, which salat you're praying, and that you're doing it for Allah, these basic things is enough. You can check the details in the Risala Amaliyah. Just go to the Niyat section of of the Risala of namaz, and you'll find that they'll tell you that you don't even have to think of the words, let alone say them, before you start your namaz. So the question you're asking, what is our niyat for namaz al-shab? Your niyat for namaz al-shab is namaz al-shab. Yes?
Should we say how many rak'ah? You don't have to say anything.
No, you're just standing there. Why would anyone wake up 2:30 in the middle of the night to pray? Yeah? They know what they're doing, or else they wouldn't wake up. You just know that you're praying namaz al-shab qurbatan ilallah. Yeah, you might think about it a split second before you start. That's okay. But you don't have to necessarily say it. You don't even have to think about it if you already know. And a good sign that you have a niyat is that if anyone asks you, what are you doing? You'll say, I'm making wudu. If someone asks you, what are you doing? You say, I'm making ghusl. Unlike the person that's walking under the rain. What are you doing? Well, I'm walking. Well, you're getting wet. Well, yeah, I'm getting wet because I'm under the rain. Well, don't you have niyat of ghusl? He says, no, I didn't have niyat of ghusl. It's to rule cases like these out, this whole story of niyat. Another thing that we have, I'm just going on so that we have more people coming in. For Salat al-Jama'ah, this is something that brothers asked me the other night, and let me just say it here too. That for Salat al-Jama'ah, to be connected to the Imam, or to the person next to me that I'm connected through that person to the Imam, how much space is allowed? Yes. The space that's allowed, what's for sure is, Ayatollah Sistani says, one big step. One very big step. How much can you open your feet up? That's one big step. Not a normal step. A big step. If that much room falls between me, still I'm connected. No more than one big step though. Al-Khamni has ihtiyat wajib. One normal step, he says. But ihtiyat wajib, as I explained the other day, ihtiyat wajib, I can refer to Ayatollah Sistani. Big step is even. The only problem with Allah Sistani is, if there's a big step, a big gap between me and the next person, but still it's not enough to cut me off, there shouldn't be a barrier. So if there's someone next to me, next to us praying, and then he stops his prayer, and he's just sitting there, Allah Sistani says this is a barrier, and it's not, it cuts you off. Allah Khamenei says no. This barrier is a barrier, but a barrier that doesn't let you see the person next to you that's praying, that barrier is a problem. So a wall will be a problem. A curtain will be a problem. But a person, a box, whatever it is not a barrier. So this is the difference between Al-Khamni and Al-Sistani here. The only exception that everyone accepts is between men and women, for there to be a curtain, for there to be a thin wall, for example. That is okay. If it's women and men, it doesn't break them all. Do we have any questions regarding this before we go on to the lecture? No? Okay.
Question.
Yes.
So what you just mentioned, so for the khutbah of Jummah, so if you have females here also, ladies, do they have to be able to see the Imam giving khutbah, or?
I haven't seen a condition like that the women have to see the Imam that's giving the khutbah. No, I haven't heard anything like that before. Right now in Iran, the namaz al-Jummah, especially when Rahbar comes, like the streets are filled. They're not seeing him, but they're hearing. And then when the namaz starts, they're connected through whoever's their connection. So it's not a problem. One more thing, by the way, now that you said that, is that some people say that you're not allowed to speak one word when the khutbah is being said in Salatul Jummah. This was something I wanted to mention the other time. But that's not the case. That's in the Sunni school maybe. They say you're not supposed to speak a word. But for the Shias, no. I mean, well, I haven't checked out the Sistani, let me tell you this now. But I know Al-Khamni says this, and I'm pretty sure Al-Sistani says the same thing. That you're supposed to listen to the khutbah, but just one word doesn't mess it up. As long as you're still getting what's being said, and it doesn't get in the way of understanding the message that's being put across, that's okay. So like if I tell this guy, move over a little bit, stop talking, do this, do that, it doesn't get in the way of me understanding what was going on. Yeah, if someone speaks for an hour next to his buddy, then that's a problem. Okay, this is also something that I wanted to mention. Recite salawat. One more question, yes.
It's about the robe. We have children and elderly people. So is it necessary that the child should be between two elderly persons?
Okay, good question. This is a good question. As a matter of fact, the ahkam of Jama'at, sometimes they have to be covered completely. Because we are always dealing with this issue of praying in Jama'at, and lots of times we don't know the rulings. The brother is asking, can we have children in the first row? Depends what kind of children. If it's the type that do wuzu right, and they pray like us, okay, it's not a kid that's looking around and breaking his namaz, but he knows what wudu is, he knows what namaz is, he has the intention of namaz. He's, I don't know, he's 12 years old now, 13 years old. Zaki, you're 13, right? He's 13 years old. We don't kick him out of the first line because, oh, you're not baligh yet. No, our maraj, they say, a person who has not reached bulugh yet, but understands what namaz is, understands what wudu is, and he's doing it qurbatan ila Allah, not only does it count as namaz, he gets sawab. You don't have to be baligh to get sawab. You have to be baligh to be held responsible and punishable for your sins. That side we have. But this side, no. The Maraja, they say very clearly, they say that the namaz of a child is okay as long as he's doing the same things that we're doing. The same way, if my namaz has to be accepted, if it has the conditions, then a child also, if those conditions are met, it's acceptable, and we can be connected through that child to the imam, even in the first row. But if the child is one of those who looks around, doesn't know what wuzu is, and all of those things, according to Al-Khamenei, as I said, one child is not too much of a distance between me and the next person. So I will be connected. But as I said, Al-Sistani says, even a human being is considered a barrier. So although the distance between me and the next person whose namaz is right isn't too much, true. But since there's a barrier, then I can't pray. We can't be connected. So this is the difference between Al-Sistani. That's a good practical example of the difference between Al-Sistani and Al-Khamenei.
The other thing is that two nabaligh can stand together, or there must be a baligh in between them?
No, not necessarily. If their namaz is sahih, and they have wuzu, and they're praying correctly, then even two nabalighs is okay. Yes? This is interesting because usually they tell us the opposite, yes? And we usually have the kids move in the back. Of course, they have to be kids that we know. They're not going to get up and walk in the middle of the namaz. But a kid that's 13, 14, just because he's not baligh, doesn't mean he can't be a connector of the lines. Yes, I've actually taught a course on namaz al-jama'at. We don't have anything like that in our books. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على سيدنا ونبينا أبي القاسم محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين. So we reached verses 7 and 8. يوفون بالنذر ويخافون يوما كان شره مستطيرا. That was the verse that we had. And also ويطعمون الطعام على حبه مسكينا ويتيما وأسيرا. There are some points in this verse that we started to cover. The first was about nazar. I explained some rulings regarding nazar. In our the culture of the subcontinent, of course, nazar has a different meaning, of course, apparently. It's when you take a bit of food out from like the big plate of food and then you do dua on it and stuff. This is called nazar too, right?
Yeah.
Yes. This is in our fiqh, nazar means something else completely. Nazar means that you promise Allah that you're going to do something. Either absolutely or conditionally. You say, oh Allah, I am making it wajib upon myself to, for example, from this day forward not to eat ice cream. Something bad. Of course, they say for the nazar to be accepted, what you're doing nazar for has to be something that is good, is considered something good. For example, you can't say from this day forward, I do nazar to beat my brother up every day. That's something that society sees as bad. Something bad you don't do nazar on. Or something haram you don't do nazar on. You can only do nazar on something that is good, preferred in society. From this day forward, oh Allah, lillahi alayya, I wajib upon myself to do what? For example, to listen to my parents, to help my parents out, to wash the dishes, whatever. Although I said yesterday we don't want to do nazar too much because sometimes we'll get stuck in it and we won't be able to fulfill it, and then we're committing haram after that. So nazar in Islam means this, in Islamic fiqh means this: oh Allah, I'm going to do this. Or, oh Allah, if I pass my exams, you stipulate, you put a condition. If I pass my exams, it is wajib on me to do this. Then it becomes wajib on you, for example. That's what nazar is. So this whole food thing and all that, that's not in Islamic fiqh. That's something that we have in our culture, and it's perfectly fine. In Iranian culture, you might call it tabarruk. When you take the food out and you do some dua on it and stuff, they say this food is now tabarruk. It has barakah in it because of like the du'as or the Quran that you've recited over it, etc. Okay, I think that's enough for nazar. Let's move on now. We talked about the story of the Hasnain alayhim as-salam, how they were sick, and their parents, Imam Ali and Fatima Zahra, they did a nazar so that they get better. Oh Allah, if our children get better, we do this. We will fast 3 days. After they get better, after they got better, they did the fast. Some brothers were asking last night, how is it that the Hasnain, Imam Hassan, Imam Hussain, they also fasted, but they were very sick? The answer is that no, the fast, they did it later. It wasn't like, oh Allah, if they get better, we'll fast right now. Apparently the nazar was like this, that oh Allah, if they get better, we will fast after they get better. And they all fasted, although it wasn't even necessary for Imam Hassan, Imam Hussain, and Lady Fidda, their servant, to fast, but they also fasted. Okay, this is what the story we talked about yesterday and some of the points that I had to add. Okay, now let's move on. It says that they are fulfilling their nazar. They are fulfilling their nazar, they fasted, and then the hardship that befell them, that they gave their food in the way of Allah, although they needed it themselves. What are they doing? When they do this, when they are yufuna bin nadr, fulfilling their nadr, another way of looking at it is وَيَخَافُونَ يَوْمًا كَانَ شَرُّهُ مُسْتَطِيرًا. This fulfilling of the nazr is in reality a manifestation of their fear for Yawmul Qiyamah. So it's not that they're doing different things. One is that they're fulfilling their nadr, another one is that they are fearing the day of judgment. No. This fulfilling of the nadr is a manifestation of their fear. Because if you do nadr and you make something wajib on yourself, and then you don't fulfill it, you have disobeyed Allah. And when you disobey Allah, you become prone and deserving of His wrath and punishment. I insist, you become deserving of it. He might still not punish you because He is so good. Our teachers tell us this again and again. They say when we discuss if someone does haram or not, don't be like, oh, he's going to hell. You can say he is deserving of punishment. Will Allah necessarily punish? That's up to Allah once again. Deserving. Okay. كَانَ شَرُّهُ مُسْتَطِيرًا. The ill of this day, they fear a day whose ill and hardship is widespread. It's all over the place. On that day, there is a lot of hardship. They fear this day. They don't want to be prone to that, so they fulfill their nazar, fulfill their vows to Allah. I explained yesterday that Allah's mercy is all-encompassing. On that day, it's all-encompassing. What does this verse mean then? When it says the ill of that day is widespread, we'll reach a few verses that come later. You'll see what is meant by it, inshallah. It's very deep and very beautiful once you get it, inshallah. Alright. What is making what they do so special though? So they gave food in the way of Allah. Everyone gives food in the way of Allah. Yeah? These barrels that we have right now here. 2 days ago there was nothing in them. One of them now is full. I check every day, by the way. Everyone gives food. What makes it so special? People are always giving food away. What makes it so special is this clause. وَيُطْعِمُونَ الطَّعَامَ عَلَى حُبِّهِ. This clause of عَلَى حُبِّهِ that we have to explain now. We have to dissect it and see exactly what is meant by it. It might not be what we think actually. حُبِّهِ. حُبِّهِ, this ha in the end, حُبِّهِ, this he, we have pronouns in Arabic just like every other language. We say huwa, he, and we also say hu, which is he. What's the difference? Huwa is the separate, independent pronoun, which is a word itself. Sometimes this pronoun attaches to words. When it attaches, it becomes the ha, just one ha. For example, kitabuhu means what? His book. Al-bayt means house. Shubbak al-bayt means the window of a house. Shubbakuhu means the window of it, meaning house. So as you can see, pronouns in Arabic can be used for living things and non-living things. So we have a problem sometimes when we're translating these pronouns. Sometimes we have to use the word it. Sometimes we have to use the word him or his. So for example, we have his book or we have its window. Okay, so both we have this. But the same word is used in Arabic, unlike English where we have two words. Why do I say this? Because this ala hubbihi, the pronoun, we have to see what it's referring to. وَيُطْعِمُونَ الطَّعَامِ, they are feeding food ala hubbihi, while they have love of it, or while they have love of him. This is the question. What is the verse talking about here? You'll be surprised actually when we look at the clues that it is what the verse is saying is that they are giving this food while they have love of the food, not love of Allah. Of course they have love of Allah, but the verse is talking about the food. Why do I say this? It doesn't sound very, Ahl Bayt like for love of food to be here. Please follow with me so we dissect this and see what the reasons are that we say that, or Mufassirin say that what here is meant is the love of food and not love of Allah. What is meant here? Of course, they're giving it out of love of Allah, but the verse is not saying that. Some say, of course, it means out of love of God, but I've seen the greats, the heavyweights, they're saying while they are greatly inclined towards the food and greatly need it. Reasons for why it is love of the food. And it's because of this love of the food that when they give it, it makes it so special. Number one, what makes what they did special? Excuse me. Yes. One, Allama Tawtawi, he explains, he says, let's look at the next verses. The Quran doesn't repeat itself when there's no reason to repeat it. When we look at the following verses, it says, إِنَّمَا نُطْعِمُكُمْ لِوَجْهِ اللَّهِ. And there you shall see that this is not something that they are saying. It's something that they had in their minds. That they say, we are only feeding you and helping you لِوَجْهِ اللَّهِ, for Allah. So if that's coming in the next verses, here it won't be saying the same thing. There's no reason to repeat it in the next verses if what is meant here also is that they are giving this food out of the love of Allah. That's one. Number two, we have the same style and the same wording in other places of the Quran. Look at this. Surah Baqarah verse 177. لَيْسَ الْبِرُّ أَن تُوَلُّوا وُجُوهَكُمْ قِبَلَ الْمَشْرِقِ وَالْمَغْرِبِ وَلَكِنَّ الْبِرَّ مَنْ آمَنَ بِاللَّهِ وَالْيَوْمِ الْآخِرِ وَالْمَلَائِكَةِ وَالْكِتَابِ وَالنَّبِيِّينَ وَآتَى الْمَالَ عَلَى حُبِّهِ. In this verse we said يُطْعِمُونَ الطَّعَامَ عَلَى حُبِّهِ. In other verses of the Quran we also have the same wording, that they give their wealth عَلَى حُبِّهِ, while they have love of it. There, no one questions that, is this love of God or love of mal and wealth? There, it's very clear. The verse, the context of it shows that they are giving their money away while they love it. The exact same wording we have in this verse, يُطْعِمُونَ الطَّعَامَ عَلَى حُبِّهِ. If there, with the exact same wording, it means they are giving it while they love it. Here also, it is very, very, very likely what is meant is, this is a very strong clue, that they are giving it while they love the food that they're giving away. Okay, these are a couple of reasons why. But let's move on. Let's move on. That some people might still say that after these foods we're not happy. How dare you? They don't love food. Ahlul Bayt don't love food. They could care less about materialistic things. Why are you saying it like this? What makes it special, what they're doing, is because they're giving it out while they love it. They don't love food, they love Allah. Okay, we'll change the wording. But who says they're not inclined towards it? And this is a problem that we have. That we look at the Ahlul Bayt as some superhumans. While the Quran, superhumans physically I mean, while the Quran and our ahadith are telling us that they were just like us. And as a matter of fact, if they were not just like us, that would defeat the purpose. Theologically, a problem will come up if the Ahlul Bayt and the Prophet are superhumans, have something more than us. Yes, they have isma, but at the end of the day, in our theology, when we discuss these things, they are also struggling. It's hard for them, or else it won't even count. It won't. What good is there in there for them to be unlike us? This is something that the Quran is teaching us. If they don't need the food for 3 days, and they don't get hungry, and it's not hard on them when they give food away, why should Allah even talk about it in the Quran? No, they should have that need for it. Which here the word love is used, which will use the word deep inclination instead. But at the end of the day, they're human beings just like you and I. They're supposed to be hardship. The Prophet said, "Ma udiya nabiyyun mithl ma udit." I wasn't bothered. No prophet was bothered the way I was bothered. The Prophet's telling us, I'm a normal human being. Surah Furqan, verse 7. And they say, what sort of apostle is this? The people were saying, what kind of messengers are these that God is sending us? Why? What's wrong with them? What sort of apostle is this who eats food and walks in the marketplace? A prophet, if he's really coming from God, he should be somewhere else. He should be in the heavens. He should have wings. Why is he walking in the marketplace, buying food like all of us and eating like all of us? The Quran is making sure that everyone knows that they're just like us, as a matter of fact. Why has not an angel been sent down to him so as to be a warner along with him? That's Surah Furqan, verse 7. Surah Furqan, verse 20. We did not send any apostles before you, but that they indeed ate food and walked in marketplaces. Right? And they worked like all of us. And sometimes the Ahlul Bayt are introduced as superhuman beings. That causes problems in the minds of others. Surah An'am, verse 9. And we made him an angel. And had we made him an angel, yes, and had we made him an angel, we would have surely made him a man. And we would have surely confounded them in regard to the truth that they confound. Listen, if we're going to send someone, if it's going to be an angel, no, we're going to make him a human being. People are going to bring up excuses. Oh, this religion you brought is for you. You're not human like us. Or you're superhuman. And we're normal human beings. We don't need to follow this religion. Surah Isra, verse 95. Say, had there been angels on the earth, walking around and residing in it, we would have sent down to them from heaven an angel as an apostle. Apostle means messenger, right? If you, O human beings, you were angels walking, then yes, we would send someone just like you, we would send an angel as your prophet. But you're human beings, so what are we going to send? Human beings. Apparently, it's going to defeat the purpose if Allah sends something that's other than us. Okay, so if a person here says, come on, they don't have love of food, how can they even be inclined towards food? No, the Prophet has said, that I have things in this life that I take pleasure in. I take pleasure in. Famous hadith. One of them is, for example, perfume that the Prophet said. It's not like when they're eating food, they're like, I'm in pain eating this food. No, they take pleasure too. And that's why they have to stay away from haram and all of that too, just like us. Of course, they have a God-given knowledge that we don't have, and they were chosen for that, and that's a long story why they were chosen and not why I wasn't chosen. But at the end of the day, they also have the struggle just like us. So, They are giving food while they really want it. They are deeply inclined towards it. We won't say they love it, fine, but they have a deep inclination. Who says this? Shaykh Mutahari explains this. They give it while they're deeply in need of it. Okay, conclusion. What makes what they did so special is that they gave it when they really needed it. End of story. Their willpower is so great that it's easy for them, although it's hard for them at the same time. So let's look at this surah from the beginning and see where it ended. Where do we start from, brothers and sisters? Day one, what did we talk about? Mixed fluid, nutfa, insignificant, not being anything that's worth mentioning, Allah says in Surah Insan. You were nothing worth mentioning. Where does it end? Allah brought us from somewhere, something. Let me read off of this. Allah started the surah by saying you were nothing, not worth mentioning. Then something with a general guidance, remember? Because we have the animal side of us. General hidayah, takwiniya, guidance that grows us. And we grow, whether we like it or not, we grow. Just like other animals, plants, everything, we are also growing. He gave us that after we were nothing. Then He gave us a special guidance because of the blessing of aql that He gave us and free will that He gave us. A path was shown to you through special guidance for even more perfection. But here we had to make the choice. All of this to reach the point of abrar. Pay attention here. So that we reach the point of abrar. And so that we reach a point like these abrar and ibadullah, that what do? Although they have that instinct, although they have that urge, although they have that love for this food, they are able to stand in the face of it. Unlike the animals who, whenever they have this instinct pushing them in a direction, they move in that direction. For them to stand in the way of it. So Allah brought us from nothingness to reach a point that we are like these abrar. This is the falsafa of our creation. This is the ultimate purpose of our creation. And that's why He sends us a program of life. And He says, this is how I want you to live. You're going to have to go against your instinct sometimes. Sallu ala Muhammad. Alright, this clause, who are they feeding now? The poor, the orphan, and asira. There's a point here that has to be made about asira, prisoner. Because it's very, very, very vital to understand where this surah was revealed. If you remember yesterday when I said the story of Hasnain becoming sick and ill, I explained how some believe that this surah is not talking about this story. Remember this, brothers and sisters. Sometimes we say, oh, how come people aren't Shia? People aren't Shia. The truth is there. Imam Ali was born in the Kaaba. How can you doubt? Well, they tell you, no, who says that he was born in the Kaaba? Some of the things that we take as consensual and agreed upon by everybody isn't like that, actually. Please remember this. This helps us when it comes to our interfaith or intra-faith dialogue with others. How can you not believe in him if he was born in the Kaaba? Well, that person, it hasn't been proven to him. His sheikhs are telling him that this is a weak hadith, or this is a weak story, some of them. Although we believe it is very, very strong, they'll say, no, it's weak. Same thing here. If some of them, they say, no, who says this story was revealed about the Hasnain becoming sick and then Lady Fatima, Imam Ali doing nadr and fasting and all that. No, it's talking about abrar in general, anyone who's good. This asira will help us here to show what is happening. I don't know what I should do. Should I enter? Because I don't know if I enter when I'll be able to exit. Let's leave it, inshallah, for tomorrow, because it's a long discussion. That this asir will show us that this surah was actually revealed in Medina and not in Mecca. And those who say that this story is not about Hasnain, one of their reasons is that this surah was revealed in Mecca. With this word in the verse that says asira, we prove that no, this surah was revealed in Medina, not in Mecca. And inshallah we can explain how that proves that this was revealed about Hasnain. Today is the the passing of the father of our master, Abu Talib alayhi rahmah, that we all owe everything to him, and Lady Khadija and Imam Ali. This deen, according to hadith, if it wasn't for the support of Abu Talib alayhi salam, it wouldn't have reached us. And this is where the Shia school says, O Muslims of the world, O Muslims of the Ummah of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. The same way that we have to use our minds when it comes to Ghadir, the same way we say we have to use a little bit more ration and try to understand that how is it that the Prophet, when he leaves this world, 23 years of all of this hardship of bringing the Muslims together, he's going to leave them without appointing a successor. And then this endangers the unity of the Muslims, and they will go at it again after the Prophet. There's a chance that they'll go at it. The Prophet wouldn't leave Medina without appointing somebody to take his place when he would go for battles and so on. Let alone leave the Ummah forever and then not appoint somebody when he knows that these tribes, they're going to go at it again after him. We say use our minds a little bit. Here also with the story of Abu Talib, we have the same thing. The Shia school and the ulama of the Shia, they say we have to use our mind a little bit about how the Prophet is in need of help, and the only one to help him is Abu Talib alayhi salam. What do they say? They say Abu Talib for the younger ones who might not know. And you can say the majority here of the Sunni school, or at least the majority of historians and history recorders, they say that Abu Talib passed away and left this world without ever saying the Shahadatain. And since he never said the Shahadatain, he died a non-Muslim, na'udhu billah. The Shia here says, let's use our minds a little bit. Put ourselves in that context. Islam, the only people it has is the Prophet, Lady Khadija, and Imam Ali. That's all it has. And then a few of the Muslims that have embraced Islam who are nobodies socially. And when you look at their class in society, they are at the bottom. You might say, well, Abu Bakr also embraced Islam. He was one of the first, of course, the first adult, they say, who embraced Islam. He's from Bani Taym. Bani Taym are a nobody tribe. They're a nobody tribe. And that's why Abu Sufyan, when the Prophet passed away, he comes back from his trip and he says, oh, Abu Bakr became Khalifa. He says, how could you put a person from one of the weakest tribes of Quraysh, which is Bani Taym, as Khalifa? He's upset about that. So these are all nobodies, they're all from weak parts of the society, and the Prophet needs support. Bani Hashim, the only person that can support is from Bani Hashim and Abu Talib. That's the only one who supports him. Now in a situation like this, where everything is so sensitive, Abu Talib says, I am also a Muslim. How many problems is that going to cause? When he's meeting with his counterparts of the Quraysh and discussing things about the Prophet, they're not going to listen to him anymore. The Shia says, let's think a little bit. Of course he's going to conceal his iman if he has it. Not only that, the Shia school says, look at all these ahadith that the Ahlul Bayt have. Let's not even say we believe in the Imams. They're Ahlul Bayt, right? We have all the Ahlul Bayt speaking about Abu Talib, his iman. All of the ulama of the Shia are speaking about his iman. For example, we have hadith by Imam Ali that he says, he swears by God that Abu Talib passed away with iman. He had no choice but to conceal it. Imam Sadiq, he says that his iman is like the iman of Ashab al-Kahf. They had to hide their iman. It makes perfect sense. At least leave the possibility there. At least say we don't know. No. Just because we don't have a hadith that says he did the Shahadatain, or we don't have a historical narration that says he said Shahadatain, now we're going to rule him out. This is the problem, brothers and sisters. When you become too literalist, see, I have to see a hadith for everything. This goes down the drain. We have to see hadith. Man kunta mawla fa'ala aliyun mawla. Yes, that was said. I've seen Wahhabis say this. But it means something else. Well, let's use our mind a little bit. Let's see the context that this was said in. No, we're still not sure. With Abu Talib, the same problem. Now, some will say we don't know, some will say, yeah, he died non-Muslim, and then we have some who say, no. We even have hadith by the Prophet that he, na'udhu billah, excuse me for saying this, that he is in the hellfire. But because of his services to Islam, the hellfire is only burning his feet. For us, it's very clear. For the Shia school, it is very clear. Knowing Muawiyah, and the way Muawiyah did things, and the way Bani Umayyah did things, it's very clear for us that there's an agenda here. Abu Talib is the father of whom? Of Ali ibn Abi Talib. And Ali ibn Abi Talib is the enemy of whom? Of Bani Umayyah. Bani Hashim and Bani Umayyah have always had this tension. Okay, it makes perfect sense to this, the trunk of this tree of Banu Hashim and the Ahlul Bayt, which is Abu Talib, to cut its roots. Very simple. Why? Abu Sufyan was forced to become Muslim, right? When they came and conquered Mecca. The Muslims came from Medina and conquered Mecca. Abu Sufyan has no choice, he becomes Muslim. So his Islam is forcefully done. Bani Abbas even, who came after Bani Umayyah, had issues. Why? Because their great-grandfather and ancestor, Abbas, the other uncle of the Prophet, he was taken prisoner in the Battle of Badr. He was fighting the Muslims. Later on he became Muslim. They all have dark report cards and dark backgrounds. Although Abbas, we don't believe in him being a bad individual later, but at the end of the day, he has a dark past. He fought against the Prophet. Okay. Bani Abbas will have problems and they will spread this whole story of Abu Talib not being Muslim. Bani Umayyah will spread it. It makes perfect sense. Everything clicks. All the puzzle pieces are fitting perfectly. This is the Shia school's approach to things. That they say, let's think about the context of things. Let's put things into perspective first, and then we can make judgments. Inshallah, tomorrow we will continue with the story of Hasnain, and how this asira helps us understand this surah. Walhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Sallu ala Muhammadin wa alihi.